Hey guys, welcome to Notorious Women Podcast, a comedy podcast about some of history's most notorious women. Okay, it's me. It's Miriam. Introducing.
And it's Lavetta.
It's Lavetta. Today is very special, you guys. We have a very special guest. We're so excited. We really are. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys, she is an actress, a civil rights activist, an author. I bet you there's more that I'm just missing. Denise Nicholas is with us today. That's it.
Womp, womp, womp. I'm so excited.
Hi. Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, truly.
To be here. Yes.
Oh, and for those of Miriam, I don't know if you remember, but this is season 5.
Oh my God. Yeah, it is season 5.
This is a very special episode for our season 5 of Notorious Women podcast. Yes.
Our first episode of season 5. Very important.
That's great. Okay. I'm in.
Now, I gotta say, when you and I first met a while ago, and I had no idea what you did. I was like, nice to meet you. And then you started to share with me some of the things that you have accomplished in your life. And I was like, oh my God, everyone needs to know everything about, like, you're a notorious woman. Like, we do Notorious in a good way and in a negative way. Obviously, you're the queen of the good way. And I was like, would it be weird if I talked about
the good stuff?
Yes. We're going to keep the good stuff.
Yeah.
All the good stuff.
Yes.
I mean, you are definitely a heroic. We have heroic and horrific notorious women on the show, and you're definitely in the heroic category. When she told me that she knew you, I started fangirling. I was like, she's like, oh yeah, I know. I was like, you know Denise Nicholas, the Denise Nicholas?
Denise,
I was like, have you ever seen?
She lost her damn mind. She lost her mind. Okay.
And I'm like, the same Denise Nicholas as in Let's Do It Again? She was like, what is that? I was like, oh my God, Miriam, I have failed you as your black favorite
role of all time.
Ms.
She told me you were black.
Nicholas,
I said, okay, she's cool.
Yes. I was like, you have no idea. The first time I saw that film and your performance, I wished to myself, I was like, hopefully one day, if I become an actress, that I will be able to deliver a role even half as good as that role. Like, I don't, you're so brilliant. You should have been nominated. No, seriously. It's one of those kinds of performances that should have been nominated because it's so comedically brilliant and so effortless. Like,
it was so much fun.
Oh my God. We can get into that a little bit more. I don't want to hijack this interview, but I could talk to you all day about that because it's just, and it's also a testament to there's so many black women, black actresses who just were not given their due, like given opportunities to really show what they could do over and over and over again. Yeah. You know, because when I saw that,
it
seems to be better. Yeah, because you're the total package. Beautiful, light-skinned, you know, even back then.
I just love that word. That's skinned.
I know. I taught Miriam that, and she's so funny. I'm like, it's.
I don't repeat it. Don't worry.
Don't repeat it. But it's fun. But no, seriously, the total package. I know. Like, there's so many Halle Berrys before Halle Berry, and we love Halle Berry, obviously. But there's so many Halle Berrys before her. You know, we could always go back in the day to Lena Horne or Nina Mae McKinney, even before Lena Horne. So we can go back to all of those ladies that just didn't have an opportunity. And then with your peers, you know, but just having the total package. And as we know, Hollywood is not necessarily about, you know, skill or talent. But
you guys, this is a podcast, but if you could see Denise's face right now, it tells so many stories.
It's just a long time.
And she And, my hope for you is that, someone who, we're writers, so we create something, we definitely putting you in it, but someone, with pull, the Tylers of the world, the Oprahs, because I feel like that they have become more aware of, our legends and our icons such as yourself. And they're like, oh, they're still working. Because I think a lot of times people think you've retired. But as we all know, actors.
I did.
You did. Oh,
I did.
Well,
but I specifically retired to write. It wasn't that I retired from work or from
Gotcha.
life. I just wanted. And the reason I retired was exactly what you're talking about. I knew I had reached a wall and that there wasn't going to be very much more for me that I would want to do offered to me. After I did it in the heat of the night, it was like, first of all, playing opposite Carol O'Connor, who was old enough to be my dad. As soon as you start looking for work after doing that kind of role, they say before they see you, she's too old.
oh, wow.
And that's exactly what happened. So they categorize you in the moment of the character that you're playing, rather than, seeing beyond or seeing whatever. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, do they not have like television sets? Do they not know how gorgeous you are? Like, and I think that's why a lot of actresses, for a long time, you resist, just what you're saying, resist to even play your age, even if you don't look it, because then they're going to age you up from there. So, but
sure.
before we get into
this is
that,
very much in there. Yeah.
absolutely. But before we get into that, because we're definitely going to circle back to that, do not worry. Like, Miriam, obviously you and Miriam know each other personally. But like, I'm fascinated by like just your upbringing. Like you're a Northern girl. I'm a Southern girl. But you're from the big city.
I didn't hear you.
You were born in Detroit. I said, we wanted to know about your early life, like your childhood, going off to, being born in Detroit and growing up in Michigan, and then going off to college and then going down to the South, like touring the South.
Yeah.
Like, what was that like for you? Like,
Let me see. It was, I think for me personally, the civil rights movement was, how can I say it? It put structure to my life. It focused me.
Okay.
It made me a more serious person. I was not a silly person ever, but that gave me an avenue to exercise my seriousness about certain things that was productive and that affected other people in a positive way. So it worked for me in that way. I left the University of Michigan to go to Mississippi the summer of 1964, which was the horror summer of the civil rights movement, when Schwerner, Cheney, and Goodman were killed, and all kind of people were dying, and bombs were going off even on the stage where we were performing. So it put a structure, and also it put basic guidelines in my head about what is and what isn't right and proper for you, and what you know and what you don't know. So when I got here to Hollywood, which is fuzzy, to be kind, it's fuzzy, especially where Black people are concerned, and particularly Black women. So I had a little bit of something inside of me to fight against, or to feel a ballast, we'll call it, against some of the insanity that was going on out here. So even with Sidney Poitier, when I wanted to do the part in Let's Do It Again, and he said, "No, you're too glamorous. You can't have the part." And I said, "I'm not glamorous. I'm an actor." And he said, "No. People can't pass your face, blah, 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 blah." And so I kept pounding on him. "I want to do the friggin' role." And he said, "Can I even test? Can I read? Can I something?" And he said, "Okay, I'll give you a test." So he was like, poo-poo. He's, "No, not serious." So I got dressed in this red dress, and I put on a big bra with big towels in it, so I had big boobs, just like the movie. I designed that costume in the film.
Did you? Oh my God, it's the best.
I did the screen test, and I cracked the gum, which I wasn't allowed to do as a child. My father would hit me in the back if the gum fly out of my mouth. But
It's just crazy that even Sidney Poitier was like, "Oh, I don't believe you can do it." You're like, "I'm a trained actress. Of course I can do it." But I wonder, when you were growing up in Michigan, what kind of family life is it? Did you come from like a civil rights minded family, or did you come from, proud Black folk? It's like when we go outside, we put on we put our best foot forward. Is that something that you could say was a part of your household?
I think it's a little bit of all of that. I think my father was, I call him a race man. He was very, very much a race man, and he was. He didn't give a damn about going outside the Black community because he had been outside of it as a younger man, and he'd faced a lot of racism. So he was in the Detroit race riot of 1943. He was in the street fighting. So he had very particular, very strong notions about all of that. And he passed that on to us. And I probably picked it up more than anybody else because I was hungry for it. I think I wanted that. So, but my mother, on the other hand, never
Did that
spoke
prepare
a word
you?
about any of those.
Really?
He did. He gave me a little more, a little more internal grist to deal with what's coming. Pretending like it's not there doesn't help. You just walk into all kind of horror shows if you don't know what's happening.
We are very interested to know what it was like for you traveling and touring with the Free Southern Theater. Like, because this is where you went down south in like the height of like the police water hoses, the dogs, the bomb threats, the racial violence that was inflicted on Black people who were simply just trying to get the right to vote, to exercise their right to vote, to get basic human rights as American citizens.
Right.
And what was that like just as a very impressionable, college age kid? Like, was it like terrifying? Like, can you recite any particular story that you'd like to share with us about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. When I first got there in June of 1964, excuse me, the Schwerner, Cheney, and Goodman were missing. Their bodies hadn't been found yet, but it was in the air. Everybody knew they were dead.
Oh.
So it was just a matter of the searching and looking for bodies. They weren't really looking for living boys, young men at that time. So that's what I walked into. So Jackson, Mississippi at that time was a nightmare. That was, we had to sleep on the floor oftentimes because the apartments were shot into by, Klan types or Klansmen. And we lived a very tight, circumspect life because you couldn't venture into things that you didn't really know or understand because you could get hurt. So we followed the rules of SNCC and of CORE and of the other civil rights organizations that were active in Mississippi that summer. And that was the way we lived for the whole summer. And we went to that first tour, we went to 17 towns in Mississippi, performing primarily in churches for all Black audiences. Mm-hmm. Periodically, a white person or persons would venture into the church because we performed in churches. They would come in and watch the performance. These were people who were somewhat liberated, who had the gumption and the gall to come into a civil rights movement situation, watch the play, and participate in the discussion because we had discussions after every performance. And then, it would drift off, but there were very few people, white people, who did that summer. So our audiences were all Black.
Yeah,
they had never seen live theater before.
Wow.
And just for our audiences, I wanted to just, for context, I just wanted to let our audiences know that, because you're referring to Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner, who were three young college-age kids who went down during the Freedom Rides of the summer of 1964.
They came down to
voter registration.
64.
To do voter. 64, and they were disappeared. The summer of 64. And that's what you're referring to when you're saying you guys were going into what was in the air, the horror of that reality that these 3 young people were missing. And so one of them was Black, one of them was white, and one of them was Jewish. And they went down to register people, just to register people to vote people. So this is why when people are like, oh, voting doesn't matter. These young people went down to register people to vote, and they killed them.
They killed them.
So
they brutalized them. They didn't just
kill
them.
And so
they brutalized them.
Yeah.
They have a way of killing them that is unlike anything that you will find around the corner when somebody gets killed. It was horrible. It was horrible. The violence and the brutality was. This is what I walked into, and this is what we all walked into.
So, Denise, after that summer, you kept touring with them, right?
I did 2 years there, and then I went to New York. I was there for 2 years, first in Jackson, Mississippi. Then we moved the theater to New Orleans and toured back into Mississippi and Louisiana. You know, it was the, you know what, what it became all the years later was the bedrock for the book Freshwater Road that I wrote. But that was many, 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 many years later, and never during all those years did that experience in the South leave my mind. It was so incredibly impactful that it stayed right there. And when I sat down to write the book, all of that came. I was able to use all of that to write a fairly well-accepted book.
Denise, can we talk about that book for a second? Because you very lovingly gave me a copy of it. And I think it is one of the best books I've ever read. Denise, you might not know this, but I like to do white people PSAs on this podcast. To all of my white friends, please make your teenagers read this book.
Thank you.
I promise you, they'll be fine. It was not just a lot of good information to have. And I consider myself somewhat knowledgeable about this. I seeked out extra information. I kind of figured out at the end of like high school and college that they did not give me everything. And I was someone who looks for more rounded story. And I read this book like, I don't know, a couple of months ago. Right. And I was I was thrown aback with the truths you have. And also it's really well written. It's not, I think people are like, oh, I don't know, that's too dark. No, read it.
Thank you.
It stayed with me. It's still with me. That's my PSA.
Okay. Got it. Love it.
You're welcome. It's so good.
Thank you. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So
everyone, should be high school reading.
Well, hey, they're banning books. I doubt it'll get there.
Yeah, and then after that, you headed to New York. What was that like?
Yeah, I went to New York to start my professional career. So actually, I don't know if you're probably too young to remember an actress named Vivica Lindfors. She was Swedish. She did movies in the 40s and early 50s. And she and her husband were doing a production that he wrote called Three Boards and a Passion. So they pulled me out of the South. They saw something that the Free Southern Theater did, a poetry show that was aired in New York City. And they saw that and they sent me a ticket. And I came to New York and did that play, went on the road, then came back into New York. And within a few months, joined the Negro Ensemble Company, which really pretty much gave my professional career the start that it needed. And even for Room 222, I was hired from the stage of the Negro Ensemble Company, kind of, sort of. I was asked to screen test, put it that way. I wasn't hired until I did the test and everything. Yes, it wasn't a gift. Not at all.
There's not a lot of gifts in this business, but that's fantastic.
No.
And then you went back to college, right?
Yes, at SC out here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I did. The most expensive 2 years I've ever spent in my life.
Did you do it to make your family happy, or did you do
I
it
did
because
it.
you wanted
I
it?
had to do it. I had to do it. It was like, it's like writing a book that you don't finish. If you don't, you have to finish. So I finished and wrote a play that got produced as well. So that helped too.
What's the name of the play you wrote?
It was called Buses. And guess what it was about? It's a story. It's a story about Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks, and there was a character in the 1800s in San Francisco. Mary Ellen Pleasant was her name, and she was I'm a black lady power broker who bought a lot of property and had a way of maneuvering through society and gaining power by buddying up with people who had secrets, and she'd have the secrets as power. So she and Rosa Parks, I put them in this play together because they both had been ejected from public transportation because they were black women. First, of course, Rosa Parks was. Well, Mary Ellen Pleasant was also kicked off the omnibus in San Francisco. This would have been in about 1859, 1860, around there. And so she filed a suit. She went to court. Anyway, that's the play. Now, the reason the play exists is because these two women, though they did the same thing, were so different character-wise and personality-wise. Rosa Parks was this quiet, lovely, strong as acid, but very contained, very lovely. Mary Ellen Pleasant was bawdy and rough and wild and crazy and wonderful. I mean, she was afraid of no one. And that's the way she lived her life. So I put these two ladies together on the stage for them to go at it in terms of how we live, how we are in the world, how we greet the world. What is a better way to be? Is it better to be a very moral person and like Mrs. Parks, or is it better to be, powerful and crazy? I like powerful and crazy, but
Same.
I love that, because that basically, like, that summarizes what we try and do on this podcast. Because I love a murderess and a bad girl. I love a bad girl, and I especially love a bad girl who's a black woman, because so often black women are either completely terrible or they're angels. Like, there's no in between, and I just love that Mary Pleasant was very bawdy, because I love a bawdy woman as well.
Oh, she was wild. She was wild. They had newspaper articles about this woman in the San Francisco Chronicle and whatever, the Examiner, whatever the other newspaper was in San Francisco. Huge articles on the front page of the paper about this woman. That's how she was seen at that time. I mean, she always wore these black dresses, and she'd have dinner parties, and she owned a lot of property, boarding houses, and Lord only knows. I think she had some poor houses, all kind of stuff. So she was in the news from about 1850 until she died in 1902. Just before the big earthquake in San Francisco.
That's what we call a businesswoman. A businesswoman.
A businesswoman, exactly. Businesswoman. Exactly.
I mean, you are so. I think, obviously looking at you, you're a gorgeous woman. Like, that's undeniable. And I would imagine, as you've mentioned earlier, like, that was part of the frustration as you're in your career as an actress, that, you look a certain way. So you can't play certain kinds of things. And as we all know, performers want to play all kinds of people. Is that the reason that you decided to transition to writing more, so you would be able to have more of a creative outlet to express your talent?
Absolutely. It was, you start writing, there were so many locked doors that I really couldn't get in as an actor. And a part of it was because, I didn't look black enough. I wasn't white. It was one thing or another for my whole career. It was I was always fighting just to be seen as myself and accepted as myself. So I said, I had enough of this. So I said, let me get out of here and start doing something that I can have more control over. So, because I am definitely a control freak, so that mattered a lot to me. So I can write whenever I want to write, and I can read and do readings and write books, and, it's not as it certainly isn't as lucrative, and it isn't as fame is a drug, and when you're on television, you get involved in that, and you begin to think that life is like that, and it isn't really. That's a moment, and it's a moment that can bring you to your knees.
Yeah.
So, I thought I just wanted to have more control over my creative life.
Yeah, I would imagine because I'd like to we'd like to maybe piggyback to one of my favorites, of course. Let's Do It Again. What was it like when that came out? Like, was it like exciting? Did you guys have what was the press tour for that? The press run
Nice.
for that? Like,
It
was
was
it just
great.
crazy? Because
It was fun. My dad came to with me. He came to New York. When the movie opened in New York, they had a big party in New York. My dad came from Detroit, and he was my date.
aw,
So people, when I came out there with that blonde wig on, cracking that gum, people were falling off their seats laughing. And my dad looks at me. He said, "Where'd you learn how to do that?" I said, it was great fun. Great fun. I loved it. I wanted to do that. Comedy.
yeah, it's part of you dipping into your bag because obviously you're playing against type, and that's what's so shocking because the whole time, you're this beautiful, proper wife who's just like a regular lady, wife and mother, right? And then you have to go in there and to meet the Biggie Smalls, the original Biggie Smalls, the gorgeous Calvin Lockhart, and put on this act. It's just so
Right.
beautiful. Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah.
I had a lot of fun with Mr. Porter because
I bet. And even he was playing against type, in a lot of ways. Because he had been Mr. Proper, Mr. Black Hollywood.
Sidney was not the funniest man on two legs.
Really?
Yes, yes. And he was trying so hard to be as funny as Bill, and he just couldn't pull it off. Bill was funny. He was funny. He was crazy.
No, because Bill Cosby, just in the clothes he was wearing, we're like, what the hell is he wearing?
Yeah, exactly. Those
With the hats,
plaids.
the glasses? What is
He
going
was.
on?
Very silly.
The plaids. Oh my God. I love the blonde wig got me. And then
I think that, like you said, people had only seen me when that came out in the late 70s. I've been the guidance counselor on Room 222. People hadn't ever even thought of me being able to do hard comedy, really raunchy comedy.
Mhm.
So I think that's the audience response was, "Oh my God, that's our Room 222 lady with those big boobs and those boots and that chewing gum."
because even in the context of the movie,
It was so much
and this
fun.
this is a love letter to Let's Do It Again. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I even like it better than Uptown Saturday Night. It's arguably the best. Is it considered a sequel?
They kind of call, but they're not. There's really no connection except the two guys,
Yeah, the two guys. Because even the
Yeah,
wives
it's
are
not-
different.
they're very different.
It's just,
Very-
yeah. But
very
of
different.
the two,
Mhm.
yeah, it's my favorite. It's ridiculous, but it's also just fun to see all those black stars especially of the day, to be together on the screen and and I bet you, the other actors like John Amos, Calvin Lockhart they're just John Amos with the gold tooth. It's like, what is going on?
Mhm.
It was funny. It was funny.
It was so
So,
funny. And then you also would go on to star in the highly acclaimed television series that's based on the movie In the Heat of the Night with the great Carol O'Connor, and where you wrote 6 episodes. So you were able to really get that creative juices flowing because not only as an actress in front of the camera, but writing, behind the camera. What was that like for you?
Well, I saw it as an opportunity to open the door to writing. I was a friend of Carol and Nancy O'Connor before the series. I'd known them for years. And when that role came up, as I said earlier, Carol said, no, you can't have the role because you make me look too old. And then I fussed and fussed and fussed, and he gave me the part. And then after the first few episodes, I went in to see him about writing. And I had a story, and don't be shocked. I'm sure you won't be. It was about the first Black woman who tries to register to vote in Sparta, Mississippi, which is where the show takes place. It's a fictional town. So I took, excuse me, I went in to see
You
Carol.
have a theme, Denise. I like it.
Yes, I do. I went in to see Carol, and I said, Carol, you have a show that has a lot of Black characters, and you don't have any Black writers, and I think that's just an outrage. And he just looked at me and said, what are you, my Italian fishwife, fussing at me all the time? I said, you can't do that anymore. You have to have Black writers on this show. And I have a story that you probably will love. And I flopped it on his desk. And he said, what is this? I said, it's a story about the first Black woman who tries to register to vote in Sparta, Mississippi. And what happens? So he bought it on the spot. And we filmed it, sometime later because it has to go through a whole process. But it was exactly what I wanted. Exactly. When I went in there and pitched him that story, I said, this kind of story has to be on television. This thing that happened in this country in the 60s happened, and it was real, and it changed lives, and people died. Mm-hmm. Stop acting like it didn't freaking happen.
Yeah.
So that's the backstory on that.
Oh, I love that. And that's what I mean, that you are a living heroic, notorious woman, Black civil rights icon. And I hope you feel the love. I don't know. I know some of our earlier Black actors especially don't always feel the love, don't always get their flowers. But I hope that you get it wherever you go. And I hope you feel that you were there on the ground. And even just that, like that one act, going to your friend and being like, it's unacceptable that you don't have any Black writers in the room.
Yes.
You can't do that anymore. And somebody has to say it. Somebody has to say it, because then they can't. Yeah, because then they can't say, oh, no one ever brought it up.
You have to do it. You have to. I talked about this, and I talk about it all the time. If you're in a position of power, use it. That means don't be shy about pushing it a little bit more, not just for yourself, but for the betterment of humanity. So, I was able to do it a couple of times, and not always, but in that instance, it was so important to me that show do something about what happened in Mississippi in the 60s. And they hadn't. I said, Carol, how can you have a show that takes place in Mississippi and never even mention the civil rights movement? Huh? How can you do that? You can't do that. It's a lie. It makes it a lie. So,
You're right.
But I had a good relationship with him and with Nancy. Generally speaking, it's a part of American history and culture. And it's still going on. Now they're banning books. Now they're trying to shut down voting, take abortions. These people have gone nuts. They've gone crazy, crazy backwards. And, you gotta, you can't tuck your head and run. You gotta fight. You gotta fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically just want to undo all of the work that you and your peers and the people before you came, all the work that the young people and the older people were trying to were actually doing in the 60s. That's what they're trying to undo. Yeah. They're just trying to go back. I always say they want to go back to the 1950s, but they'd love to go back to the 1850s.
Yeah. I think that's what they really want. That's the vibe I'm getting. Let's go all the way back. Oh my God, it's painful. Yeah. It's painful to watch. I keep thinking, if I could, I would leave. I don't like what seems to be coming, but.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like it either. And I know Americans in general, are like, oh, it could never happen. No, it could.
It totally can. And it totally has.
Yep.
And I think that's why your book spoke to me so intensely because we like to act like our country wasn't built on the back of slaves, that we didn't incarcerate Japanese Americans in concentration camps. Like, it has already happened. We have done it. We spent some of the terrible things lasted hundreds of years. So we need to talk about it.
But
I
they
was
don't want
reading
to
in the
do
New
that.
Yorker magazine. It had to be 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. No. And I read something that not many people read because I never heard it anywhere else, that Hitler watched America to learn how to be a better racist.
Yes.
That he loved American movies, American women. All of that.
Yes, that is very true.
I had no clue of that until I read that article. Now, there's more information that's come out, and it's also in Ava DuVernay's movie Origin. You see it, a little bit of that there. In fact, they say that directly in the movie, and that's the first time I've ever heard that said publicly, except in that New Yorker magazine article. And it's like, come on, y'all.
People don't talk about it, but in the 20s and 30s in America, it was a huge... People were good with it.
It's Jim Crow. It's called Jim Crow. And, the Nazis are like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that here.
There's a lot of good stuff happening, That movie, Origin, is brilliant. American Fiction is beyond brilliant. It's just in the stratosphere of intelligent. It's so good. It's so good. Killers of the August
Flower Moon.
The Flower Moon. It's the 3 movies in one season. Yes. It was. I said, oh my God, I had no idea. And he managed to mention Tulsa.
Oh.
And the rampage, the murderous rampage in Tulsa in the movie. And I was sitting there watching the movie, and one of the Native women runs, because it was a big riot, and people were running around and screaming and violence. And this Native lady is crossing the street running, and she said, "It's just like Tulsa." I was sitting in my chair in the movie theater and almost slid off onto the floor because it was acknowledged. Because for years, they never said a frigging word that it ever even happened.
Yep.
So those are good things.
Same thing happened in my state of Florida, Rosewood. It happened all over the country, but Rosewood is another one that they actually made a movie, in the late 90s, early 2000s. Happened in Rosewood too.
Certainly.
Yeah. So
God,
it is.
What's the director's name? I forgot his name.
Yeah, and it's escaping me now. But and I hate when people are like, "That means you don't like this country we're leaving." It's like, no, the reason we want to fight and keep saying these things because we want our country to be the best it can be, and it has so much potential to be even better because it's a multicultural society to show how we as human beings can come together and and lead the world towards the moral arc of the universe, right? Like that's what it says in our Constitution. That's what it's supposed to be. So we're just trying to make it live up to
right now. Portugal is doing better than we are.
Yeah. So
you know who else is doing better than we are? It's Germany. It's Germany.
Well, that part. Yeah. They came out in the street to protest against the rise of Nazism.
Yes. They're better than we are. Yeah. They're better than we are now.
Yeah, also because the Germans are like, no, we've already gone down that road.
We're the ones going back.
Yeah, we're not doing that again. Yeah.
Yeah, it did not work.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
I mean,
like we just done that. We just did that. Like it's not that long ago. The 40s is not that long ago, y'all. Like it's not that long ago.
It's not.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like the concept of like nationalism and like, if you don't love this country, listen, love the people around you, love your communities, support your communities. But like just the fact that you live in a place does not make that place great. Yeah,
it doesn't mean it doesn't have any problems or challenges. Like we as citizens and as Americans, we show our love by trying to make the country better for its citizens, right? That's what we're supposed to be trying to do.
Right. Yes.
So but
that's what That's what the good guys think.
That's what the good guys think. But what have you been up to lately? We know you have a book coming out.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'm still working on my memoir.
You still
Sure,
working
it's a
on it?
memoir, and my publisher who published Freshwater Road.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I did a draft. I handed it in. He said, "I think you can do a better job."
Oh,
So I'm doing a second draft.
Oh, no.
And,
Okay.
that's a good editor. But I have
had
a
to do
question
it
though.
because, well, like it's the first one. The first draft is kind of like a well filled in outline. It doesn't have the passion. It doesn't have literary language. It's kind of chunky. Kind of goes through the steps of my life, and I knew that when I was doing it. But I was so it's so hard to write now because I take care of my mom here, and she's got dementia. She's 102. So the house is not the house that I had when I wrote Freshwater Road. I had peace and quiet constantly. All I did during the writing of that book was go to Janet Fitch's writing workshop and come home and work because I was intent upon getting that book done. But here now there's traffic, there's noise, traffic, people traffic in the house, mom's needs, which are 24 hours a day, consistent. So it was so hard to focus and concentrate and have those long periods of time when you could just sit there quietly and mull over things and let things happen in your head. That is precious to writing, and I didn't have it. So now I'm fighting for it, so I can get the second draft up a few notches before I hand it back in.
Yeah, I recently went through a similar thing with my grandmother who ended up passing. I went back down to Florida to take care of it, and I had no idea caregiving is a full-time endeavor. And even when you have help in the home, which is very helpful, but it's a full-time thing. So my hat goes off to you. Yeah,
it takes over, and everything that I read about it tells me that is the experience. It takes over because its needs are so universal, so profound. Everything has to be done for a person, everything. And then with dementia, the mental aspects of it, my mother's pretty calm because I keep people with her. She's got good nutrition, good engagement with people, which is very important with dementia.
Yeah.
So she stays every now and then she'll have what I call a dementia attack. And things get a little hairy, but mostly she's but yeah, I mean it's something. It's amazing. And I read articles. I try to read everything that I get my hands on so I have a better understanding of the disease and how it progresses, and I can handle it. But it takes every ounce of your mind and heart to deal with it. It really does.
Yeah, I think when you get in those moments, my hope for you is that you can pull from that experience while you're telling your story. Because I hope for your book, your memoir, that there's some, is there going to be some scandalous stuff in there? Is it going to be sexy? Are you going to be spilling the tea, Miss Denise Nicholas, in your memoir?
A little bit. A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I cannot wait to get my copy.
We're very excited, just so you know.
Oh, man. And when you finish it and your editor and your publisher are like, okay, this is acceptable, please, I hope you come back to Notorious Women podcast because we'd love to promote it.
Yes.
We are huge fans of yours.
I certainly will.
You're a personal hero of mine. Just as a Black woman, I am so in awe of you and so impressed. And I'm just so glad that you are in the world and your work, your career is in there. Because I'm telling you that I hope you always feel the love. And I hope that you remember that you are loved, particularly by the Black community. I hope you have felt that throughout your career. And if you haven't, I hope you that is righted in your mind and in your life and in your heart.
I would just like to say on behalf of all of the Jewish community, we also love you. I just thought I would speak for everyone.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Truly. I mean, because listen, we're doing.
One of my closest friends. She's my roommate at Michigan.
Okay,
It's still just like this.
Exactly.
New York. I'm here every Sunday. What are you doing? So, yeah. Silly. We're silly.
It's we have enjoyed having you on the show, and this is going to drop in Black History Month because, like I said, you are a living legend, and I just want to give you your flowers here. Continue the good work. We're sending you lots of love and light and blessings for the work you're doing with your mom, the care that you're giving her. And we need your book in the world, so I hope you finish it. You find the time and the space to finish it because we need it in the world.
There'll be some shocks in it. Thank you. Thanks,
Yes.
ladies. Thank you both.
So excited.
Oh, and with that, do you have anything else you want to say as we wrap up with Notorious Women podcast?
Well, I think we covered a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
I was looking for like the cover of a book or something to hold up, but I don't have a cover for the new book. I just have no Freshwater
I got
Road
you.
cover.
I'm
Miriam
ready.
has it up. Yes.
I love this book
Freshwater
so
Road.
much. And you guys
Can you
can order it.
Yeah, bring it back in the middle. You got to put it in the middle, Miriam. Yes.
I told you I'm not technology inclined.
Over.
Did
Bring
I
it
do
over a little bit more. Bring it over.
You can get it on
a little bit more.
Amazon.
Over.
Yeah, well,
Over. Yes.
more.
Yes. That's stop right there.
You're right.
Freshwater Road.
You're
No, why are you moving? Why are you moving? I tell you.
There we go. All right. You're moving.
Oh,
It's
my
on
Lord.
a bus.
Can
In
I
the
say
window.
that there
On the
should
bus.
be
Exactly.
we need listen, I'm old and I don't know technology. We need a movie of this book.
Don't
We
say
need a movie of this
around
book.
me. You what?
Denise. We need a
What did you
movie
say?
of Freshwater Road. I said we need to make
You're
a
right.
movie of this book.
Yeah, so hopefully Tyler Perry, Oprah.
Yeah.
I think
agree
Oprah
with
would be
you.
great.
I
Yeah.
managed to get.
Oprah.
I did give it to Ava DuVernay when I was at a screening of
Okay.
Origin. I gave her a copy of Water Road. So we'll see. She's busy now with promoting Origin.
You know who'd also be good for it? Dee Reese. She did Mudbound. She's a director for Mudbound.
know.
Oh yeah, she'd be really good. Yeah. Yep.
She's an editor. She's an editor.
No, she's a director. Yeah, director.
Okay,
Yeah.
that would be great. But
Yeah.
I know the name. I just can't put it together.
Yeah, she did
with a
Pariah.
person,
That was
but,
her big breakout film.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. She did
With that.
Mudbound. Yeah, she'd be great. There's a lot of obviously you need, as you know, names behind it to get the financing, to get it, to get it on people's minds. But I think Miriam is right. I think it'd be an excellent adaptation for a film.
We did.
Yeah. Or a TV
We'll see what
series.
happens.
Would you be up for a TV series?
I think if I can get this, I don't know why they haven't done a TV series about the civil rights movement. It's all young people.
Yep.
I mean, they love young
Yep.
people on TV. So they could do that. They certainly
Yeah.
could.
Absolutely.
God knows what they might do to whitewash it, but it would be.
Yeah.
It could be.
I mean,
it could
who's
be.
going to write it,
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So we are putting that out into the universe. Yeah.
Okay. I love it, you guys. I love you too. You're so silly.
We do our best. We do our best. Oh, guys. And on that topic, and on that note, rather, we're going to wrap it up with the fabulous Ms. Denise Nicholas. Give her a round of applause. Y'all put some respect on her name. She joined us here during Black History Month, and me and Miriam are just over the moon. Thank you, Miriam, for setting this up. You guys need to go out and check out all her stuff. In the Heat of the Night. Let's do it again. Room 22. Like you guys need to go out and find. Look up her 222. 227. 222.
You can do it.
Room 222.
No.
Oh, let me get that straight again.
Just
Room 222. See, I went to school in America. This is why.
Listen, you got it eventually.
Room
Lavetta. It's okay.
222
Good. You
in
got
the
it.
heat
Yeah.
of the night
Yes.
TV series. That's still
That's
running.
on. That's still running. So that's
Yeah,
good.
it is.
That's
Excellent show.
reruns,
Excellent show.
every
And Let's
day.
Do It Again, the film, one of my personal favorite films. It is hilarious. And check out her book, Freshwater Road, also that was published in 2005.
Yes.
It was on several top lists for books that year. And was honored in many, many different ways. So thank you again, the fabulous Ms. Denise Nicholas, for joining us here on Notorious Women Podcast. Guys, remember to follow us on all the things. We are also, if you want to support the show financially, you can go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Notorious Women. Please support Ms. Nicholas on all the things. Go and follow her if she's on social media. Are you on social media? No? Oh.
Yeah. So you have a healthy sense of self. That's good. Keep it up. Okay.
No,
You can't call that.
you're not missing
I couldn't
anything.
take it. Let me tell you something. I was on Facebook, and this one last thing. And I put stuff on Facebook, and I keep it positive. Everything is nice. I don't put any negative stuff up there at all.
Oh.
And I had a picture of myself that was, sometimes I put old pictures, sometimes I put recent stuff. And so this guy sends me a message. How come you put all those old pictures of what you look like now?
Oh my God.
He trying to get some of that. He's trying to see what's up. That's what he tried to see.
I said, back up, Buster.
Yep.
I said, scroll back a few days and you'll see my picture from today. Okay? Shut up.
That is so funny. How come you look? And I could just hear, you did the right voice, because that is exactly how he sounds.
Yes. That's what he wrote is how he sounds. I was like, oh,
God,
please.
that's hilarious. And Miriam, do you want to take us home with where else they can support the show?
I will take us home. You can follow us. We are on all the socials. So Notorious Women Podcast for Instagram, Notorious Women Podcast for TikTok, Notorious Women Podcast YouTube. You can listen to the episodes on the YouTube, as the kids say, right? And then if you want to email us, we are notoriouswmpod@gmail.com. You can DM us as well at least on Instagram. I have not figured out the conversations on the TikTok. All right, you know what? I'm figuring it out.
She's doing a fabulous job.
And that is all. Follow us, like us, tell your friends about us.
Yes, and go and look up Ms. Denise Nicholas's stuff, all right? I'm going to say it. That's my last thing, and we are out. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Bye.